Hi, welcome. Paris to you. Do you have something to take notes? I might say something interesting, so it could be worth taking notes. Today is Saturday, the 23rd of May, 2026, and it's 6 p.m. I've just come up with a joke. It might not be incredibly funny, but I'm going to start with a joke, okay? What's this? What you are supposed to be with God, height. What's this? The modern church, as slack as it gets. People that are on fire will get that, and they'll have a chuckle to themselves on the how true is that attitude. They might not find it funny. They might find it shockingly true. But most people will go, what? No, I go to church, so the church isn't slack. No, I see lots of people in church, so the church isn't slack. Really? Is that how you judge things? What you see in the natural without even contemplating what the reality behind it is? After all, what is the reality behind the church and whether the church is on fire, having that tight relationship with God on fire, or just slack? And believe me, they're just slack. After all, what percentage of the population are even Christians to start with? I'm sitting in Australia. Now, 50 years ago, 90% of people probably would have considered themselves Christians. Now, let's not even consider people of other races that have come here, like the Hindus and the Muslims and Buddhists and whatever else. Let's just take them right out of the equation. Let's just look at the traditional Aussie Westerner. How many people out of the traditional Aussie Westerner now believe in God? 60%? Maybe. There has been a marked drop in belief in God to start off with. 50 years ago, out of that 90% that believed in God, let's say about 40% of them went to church pretty regularly, at least once a month. Out of the number that has dropped from 90% to, say, 60%, just coming up with wild figures here. I haven't done a recent survey, so I don't know. I haven't checked the ABS, the Australian Bureau of Statistics. But out of the 60%, let's say, that still call themselves Christians or now call themselves Christians, how many of them go to church regularly, at least once a month? Maybe 10%? Church attendance hasn't really changed much. A church that 50 years ago had 100 people in it today Still has 100 people in it. But the population of the country 50 years ago was 1 million people, and the population today is 20 odd million people. Probably wasn't 1 million, it was probably more like two or three. Irrelevant though. The population is many multiple times larger, but that church still has maybe around about 100 people still. If anything, that church might have gone from about 100 people 50 years ago down to about 80 people now. If anything, chances are it's probably gone down a little bit. And we look at these churches, and that was a church that might have had 110, 120 seats. It was basically full. And we look at it now, and there's 80 people sitting in that 110, 120 seats, and it still looks sort of full. But in that period of time, they should have knocked that building down and built a church for 500 people because the population has grown at least 5 times. What has gone wrong? Are there less Buddhists in Asia? Are there less Muslims in the Arab countries? Are there less Hindus in India? No, they've increased. Christianity is dying. This is the relationship we are supposed to have with God. Tight. This is the relationship we have with God. Limp, weak, useless. Sure. Ha ha. It's not a funny joke. People are slack today. Some people go, oh, God, bring a revival. Some. 50 years ago, more than half the church would have been praying that. And some of those would have been stepping out to try and achieve that. Today, 2% of the church is praying for revival, and 0.1% of the church is stepping out and telling people about God. 1 in 1,000. I think that's a fairly safe figure. Why do I say that? I've gone out on a weekend night to check out how many people are out in the entertainment areas of the city, which is the traditional places where people like to go and evangelize. And I see 4 or 5 people there telling people about God. Great. 4 or 5 people out of a population of 1 million plus people, or around about 1 million people in the city that I live in. 4 or 5. How many would call themselves Christians? 100,000. So what's 4 or 5 people out of 100,000? When I was a teenager, you would have half a dozen to a dozen people on the weekend nights out telling people about God. Twice as many people as there are now. But the population back then was a couple of 100,000 people. Population's grown 5 times. Evangelists have halved. What has gone wrong? That's it. There's your answer. The church has got slack. We no longer care about people out there in the world. Oh, if they want to go to hell, let them. It's not as if we need to love our neighbour. It's not as if we believe in God enough to suggest having a life in God is something worth having. And if having a life in God is something worth having, ooh, we don't want all those other people out there to have something good. Maybe to most of us, having a life in God is a struggle. You've got to struggle to go to church because it's an effort, and you know, every now and again you read your Bible and you have to pick it up and read a few pages, and it's just such an effort. It's a struggle. Well, if that's the case, that is not what Christianity is supposed to be. What about not even reading your Bible? Not even setting aside time to pray? Not even going to church? What about just watching a short half-hour video on a godly message, like this video right now? I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to upload this video, and it might take me up to a month to do that because I've got quite a bit of a backlog right now, and I make one or two videos every day, and I edit one or two videos most days, and I've got a ton of other tasks that I really need to work on. So I've just putting a few hours into editing the videos and getting them online per week. So even though I might do, say, 10 videos in a week, I'm only uploading 5 to 7 videos a week, which is okay because I've got a fairly large stock ready to release that are already uploaded, just not released. What's going to happen though? Okay, if I go look at one of the videos that is on YouTube and has been available to the public for the last, say, 2 months, I'm going to tell you right now the average number of people that might have watched that is 3. If I look at 10 videos, they will have been played around about 30 times. Now, some of those might have been played 5 or 6 times. Others have not even been played in 2 months. Do nobody know of the videos? Can't say that. There's 2 Facebook groups. One is pushing 800 people now. The other one is around 80 something people. So there's getting on towards 900 people that know of these videos. They know that I talk about godly things. I could be saying things that'll just put Christianity at a totally different level. I could be saying things that will help you understand the base of Christianity, how to build it, and what to do with it after that. I do talk about those things. Are they the kind of thing that somebody can tell me about? No. If I was to ask pastors about, well, what's the base of Christianity, the uh, second tier of Christianity, and the third tier of Christianity, if Christianity was 3 tiers, I bet they do not get the same answer. I don't bet anything. I'm not a gambler. I believe the great majority of the time, they will not come up with the same answer I come up with because there are 3 tiers of Christianity. One, knowing the word, because without knowing the word, your life, what you call as a Christian, you've got no idea of what that is. It's like saying, great, here's a car. I know you've never seen a car before, assuming that you're taking to a car to a Martian or someone that's grown up in deep, dark tribes of Africa where vehicles have never been and there's no TV or anything. They haven't been able to see a car. And you show them a car and say, here you go. Here's a car. You can now drive that to a city. Go on. They've never seen one before. So how do they know how to drive it? There must be instruction on how to drive it, right? Or it's useless. As far as Christian goes, there must be instruction on how to be a Christian. And there is. It's called the Bible. So, tier one, we are to study and know the Bible. How well? Well, that's not the point. Doing it is the point. How well you study driving? Are you going to be the world's greatest racing driver or somebody that can barely drive down the street, but you can drive down the street? Doesn't matter whether you can barely do it or you're the world's best. Irrelevant. That instruction, to some degree, is needed. Then, what do you need as a Christian? Christianity is about having a relationship with God. So, upon that knowledge, you have the relationship with God. And thirdly, what do you do with it then? Well, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, all your soul, all your spirit, everything that is in you. Love your neighbor as yourself. How do you do that? By being charitable, but also telling them about God. After all, we are to be within that. If you have that base, you know what I'm about to say. What a Christian is in another way. You know that a Christian is a disciple, and you know what a disciple does. A disciple does what their master has both taught them and what their master does. And you know what Christ did. You realize that Mark 1:38 says, I came to preach the gospel. So, therefore, to be a Christian, not only are you doing those charitable things, but you're preaching the gospel while doing those charitable things. That's backed up with Matthew 7, round about 21, where it says, shine your light so that people can see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Well, how do they glorify your Father in heaven? Well, you must have told them. So, get the base, get the relationship with God, then step out and do the Christian things. That's Christianity. But how many pastors talk about that? This is a very, 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 very basic thing right here, right now that I'm talking about. This is just three little itty bitty things that form Christianity. Ask your pastor. And I laugh because how many people are actually watching this at this stage while I'm still alive anyway. Ask your pastor. What are the three tiers of Christianity? I think they'll come up with some different answer. They won't say, they may, but they probably won't say that Christianity has a foundation of knowing the Word, on which you build a relationship with God. And from that relationship with God, you relate to the rest of the world. One, two, three. Simple, isn't it? When's the last time you heard a preacher preach about it? Hmm, I haven't, but it's a basic of Christianity. When have you last heard a preacher say it is the responsibility of every Christian to express God to every single person around them? Oh, Christ came to preach the gospel. We are here to preach the gospel. It's our job. Do you do your job as a Christian? Okay, there'll be pastors and people preaching that, sure. Most of them aren't directly saying that it is the responsibility of every single Christian, and it is our prime responsibility. Before you are a pastor, if you're a pastor, your job is to go out to the world, not the church, the world, and tell people about Christ. How many people are doing this? Well, hang on a Friday, Saturday night, you go into the entertainment district of the city, the most populous, where people preach the gospel, and you see 4 or 5 people maybe talking about God out of a million, remember? It's worse than dismal. It's so appalling that I am nearly in tears here now. This is the relationship we're supposed to have with God. This is supposed to be our commitment, a tight relationship with God, a tight commitment to God. But this is what it is: slack, weak, useless. If you have, well, I was about to say, if you've basically stopped watching my messages because I say things like this, so be it. Choose to be a non-Christian, even if you want to claim to be a Christian. Christians will be saying, preach it, brother, or something like that. And, oh, I want to get this message out to people. Christians. But how many Christians do I find out of a million people? 4 or 5 people willing to do what they're called to do, go and preach the gospel. Are they the only 4 or 5 people that do that? Okay, no. I'll grant you that. They're not the only 4 or 5 people. You see, on a weekend afternoon, I might go to the beach. This is a beachside city, by the way. And the beaches here are incredibly populous. A half a mile of beach, a little bit short of a kilometre, will have a couple of thousand people on it. The beaches are very popular. And you go to the beaches. Now I go to the forefront of the beaches, not on the beach, but the footpath going along the side of the beach. Sidewalk, if you want to call it that, if you're in the US. And I will talk to people about God and try and stop people as they're walking by. There will be, I don't know, let's say in a minute, there is one person past me every 2 seconds, maybe. 20 or 30 people a minute passing me. Okay, so there's quite a few people. Now, that is also an ideal place to spread God, hand out tracts, preach the gospel, whatever. You'll find Hare Krishnas go there and sing Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, and all that rubbish. You'll find that other people will promote their views there. And as often as you see a Hare Krishna, you might see a Christian. But how often is that? Out of 7 or 8 times I've been to do that, I've seen Christians once, and it was two groups, a group of three and an individual. I've found other people that claim to be Christians, but then again, you've got to remember, I was approaching people asking to talk to them about God. In fact, I was trying to do a video series where I was interviewing people about their beliefs. So I was asking people if they believed in God and things like that. So yes, people would say they're Christians. But out of them, how many were had the intent to spread the gospel? Four. Three in one group and one in another group, by himself. Three were walking along with a sign. And on the very same day, I think these were all, the fourth one was with them anyway. On the very same day, about 10 minutes later, another person came along with a sign talking about God or of some description. All on the one day. And I've seen the Hare Krishnas a couple of times, but them just once on one day out of the maybe 7, 8 times I'd been. Okay, so let's add them to the equation. So out of a few times where I've gone to tell people about God, but also take notice of those who are doing it. Let's take that number from 4 or 5 up to, ooh, maybe almost 10 out of a million. What's 10 out of a million? Drop 1 0. That's 1 in 100,000 people. Okay, now maybe 2, 3, 4 times that actually still tell others about God and go out there, but they might go to shopping centres or something like that. One, I've never seen a person handing out tracts at a shopping centre or anything like that. I've seen them at shopping districts where there's streets and not a shopping centre like a shopping mall. But those people in shopping districts are quite rare as well. So let's maybe double the figure and go to 15 to 20 out of a million. But that's basically it. Okay. And when I say I might have seen 4 or 5 people in shopping districts doing that, that's in the last 30, 40 years. One every 10 years, I might see. Incredibly dismal. Yet, we have people say, oh, I pray for revival. Oh, I want revival. Sure. I want somebody to come and donate $1 million so I can advertise these videos to people and pay a ton of money in advertising to get people to join the group so people might watch these videos more. Come on, I want $1 million. No, wanting it doesn't make it happen. Hey, is that a key? Things don't happen just because you want them to happen. We need to step up and step out. What, are you afraid? Fine. Contact me and we will organise some training for you, people to go with you, people to hold your hand, people to show you how to do it. You can just be a support to them. Have you got the guts to even just say, look, I'll support somebody out there on the streets or out there going door to door if need be or whatever, in the shopping districts? No. We're too slack and lazy and can't be bothered doing that. You want God to move? No, I don't think you do. I don't know anyone that's willing to step up other than just those few people I've seen. And many of them are half-hearted about it or confused in one way or another. So they might not be giving the greatest message. What hope is there if there's half a dozen people in a million? Okay, look, I've spent a whole half hour on this, so I'm going to wrap up there. Are my messages all going to be hard messages like this? And this isn't a hard message. It's really easy to understand this message. Am I hoping that you are convicted and ready to say, yes, count me in? Yes, I'm hoping that. But are you going to contact us and say, great, get me organised? Get some people to go with me. Let's change that and go, I hope you do. But from experience, I haven't been seeing it. Oh, let's pray that God moves. No, let's stand up and move. Okay, I'm wrapping up there. If this was a good message, get it out there. Post it on to people. Send it to forums. Post it to Christian websites, wherever. Get it out. Put a rating on the message out of 10. Oh, this was a 5 out of 10 if it was average. 7 out of 10 if it was sort of good. Whatever. And contact us if you want to learn, if you want to grow, if you want an evangelistic team around you. Even contact us if you need counseling. Nothing happens if people just, oh, I'm too slack to do anything. Okay. Bless you. Govern well. Charis to you.